I came to believe, call me delusional, that no living poet, none, could teach us a single thing about poetry, but for the simple fact that no living poet has a clue as to what he or she is doing. At least none that I have talked to, and I've talked to quite a few. John Ashbery and Billy Collins can't teach you a thing for the simple fact that they are living. Why is that, I wondered? I mean, really wondered. I think it is because poets are people, no matter what camp they sleep in, who are obsessed with the one thing that no one talks about. That would be death. They talk to the dead and have a rapport with the dead and write about death as if they had done it, which is utterly ridiculous because they are not dead and never have been and cannot teach us a single thing about death and being dead. And yet, here's the thing. The minute they become dead, they can teach us everything. Why is that? I think it is because the minute they are dead, all of their poems about death become poems about being alive. And we are alive and can be taught something about that. I mean it. John Ashbery or Billy Collins can teach you nothing about poetry today, July 21st, 2009, but if one of them were to die tomorrow, he could teach you something about poetry on July 23rd, 2009. Poets are dead people talking about being alive. It's that simple. People who are alive are not really people because they haven't died, but people who have been alive and then died are the whole kind of people that we want to be our teachers. I can't really explain it, being alive and all. That was Mary Ruefully. This is the Inspired Word Cafe. Woo! Oh my God! Yeah! Oh man, no, you guys! Woo! Oh, what an audio crowd tonight. That's in the place that we're in. Right, so I'm gonna move on from that because this is getting rambly. Tonight we have one of our own, one of the IWC's most trusted employees, because we make money doing this. So because poetry, that's where the money is. So without further ado, Arlene Hassan.
Yeah. I'm a poet. My parents have already caught on to the fact that I'm never going to make any money. They're not very excited about it. Okay, I have poems. They're all ocean-themed poems. You'll figure it out. You'll figure it out as we go. And they never have names because I'm really bad at naming poems, so I call them things like, name this poem. It has no name. So if you guys can think of a name, hit me up. Also, don't. I don't want everybody hitting me up. No one will hit me up. No one ever does. Okay. Poem. I've never felt more alive than the day I took my first breath underwater. 20 meters below the surface, staring down at the darkness with the cold creeping in against my skin, enveloping me, welcoming me. I was enamored, fascinated by the depth, the way you never knew where it began or ended, its subtle significance. I remember staring up at the sun struggling to break through the surface, watching bubbles swirling and swirling, dancing against the current before pop. I've always been enchanted by the ocean. I wanted more than I ever wanted anything to dissolve in it. Its vastness, its complicity, the way it yields so much power, a graceless elegance even the moon can't help but follow. When the ocean is angry, everybody listens. We pay attention to the way the tides pull out, the skies weep and the winds howl. You can't ignore the way it demands your attention, the way something so lively can be dead, the way a storm refuses to be irrelevant. Once, I caught my leg on the side of a straight reef 40 meters down, and I watched my thighs stream ribbons of green around me, and I was convinced I could finally breathe, and my lungs burned. In that moment, I was part of it. I'm convinced there's meaning in the way the waves crash against each other. There's significance in nothing getting lost in the depth. There's more to the ocean constantly saying goodbye to the shoreline. The way destruction becomes a symphony. Then again, I've always been quick to assign meaning to moments for fear of becoming another ship caught in a storm you couldn't ignore. I've always felt safest away from the shoreline. There is a longing to drown in me. I can't ignore the way my feet are drawn to the sea floor, the way it greets me like an old friend. My eyes never sting underwater. I'm safe there. On the day I was born, my grandmother took my hand, thumb stroking along the inside of my wrist, tracing the veins. Salt lives here, she claims. Okay. That was a poem. There we go. I have a title. Thank you. Okay. Or I name them things because I have to name them things. Like when I have to hand stuff into class, I'm always like, oh, let's go into my poetry folder and like, oh, this'll do. And then I'm supposed to hand in a villanelle, but I hand in sonnets instead. Okay, this one's called Skinny Dipping, or the one where they get caught with their pants down. It's all clean, it's all PG. We drank lungfuls of salt air and craft beer. Oh, how I loved you like this, running wild and naked into the lapping waves. You are most yourself here. The ocean lends a heaviness to the air. You could sip the night with a straw, a cocktail of salt and cloudless sky. If we kissed again, would you taste like salt? Tell me how much sweeter summer feels now that you've tasted winter. It tickles your skin, warm and pliant. You can hardly tell the difference between the air and the water. A smooth shift in tempo. Adagio to allegro float to mind the way memories and dreams surface in the sea. Remember not to fall in love with the moments, you'd tell me. Try to keep breathing wherever you may hide. We have never been younger. That was a good sonnet, Arlene. We're going to clap to show our appreciation. Okay. Here's another sonnet, because I've been writing those lately. I don't know why, Aaron. Okay. The currents keep getting closer. It thrills me, the chaos of it all. You can't begin to know what hides beneath the luring waves. Alluring enough to forget nothing perfect was ever as beautiful. I'm cautious, but swells have a way of teasing you. Pulls you in blind and leaves you gasping, parched. Wide-eyed, I wade into high tide to swim with the sharks. I did this. Dawn schleps the moon off the horizon, and I want you to find me. But desire is ephemeral, and open water is fun until your feet can no longer graze the bottom. The salt will save me. Swept away by the sea, I can't blame the ocean for haunting me. Not when I've invited myself here. That was another poem. Woo! Thank you. See, I feel the love now. That's very nice. Okay, this one is titled, in my Word document, it's titled this poem, it has no name, you useless poet. That's what it says. Okay. Midnight finds you waist deep in the sea I was born to. Tell me you can feel me there. In the salt air, you are pristine, shielded in sand. The silence that follows stunts me more than our actions. Inheritance is accidental, I decide, and it's easier to like you like this, at arm's length. In the middle of the day, the moon creeps above the skyline and it tugs at me. I wonder if they're still there. Only 2 inches left of center. I buried trinkets in the sand so I could find them again. Or someone else could. I can't remember how much of myself I've lost to the burning. What are you looking for? I've always been better at hiding. In your dreams, I wander into the sea, tired and alone. I can't locate myself here. I'm content floating along as the sea water stings my eyes, and I scare you. Swim to shore, baby girl. Just swim to shore. Yay! That was not a depressing poem at all. Okay. Jessica's showing me fingers. That's good. Okay. Oh, and this one's definitely not depressing at all. It's totally not about killing yourself in a bathtub. This is probably my ode to Sylvia Plath. Because, She comes to me in fever dreams, like we're really close. When I die, we're gonna have margaritas. Like it's a thing. It's gonna happen. Okay. I scribble an elegy on the back of an old recipe card, tuck it under the lavender on the windowsill. My wrists look fragile, defenseless. It would be so easy, just one straight line. I could never do it. You can't rebel against survival, rage against a dying light. It gets messy. I don't like messes. Inside, it is porcelain. Steam rises off stillness. I dip my toes, sink into the warmth. How humanely we kill crabs. Lavender oil is toxic to humans. I like the way I feel underwater, the heavy weightlessness in my limbs, uncomfortable warmth blisters. I want to pull my fingernails out. Tendrils of hair lure me down, reminiscent of Ophelia and Esther Greenwood, Edna Pontellier. I'm not nearly as well read as I ought to be. Polaris holds me under. I scream the eulogy on the recipe card on the windowsill. Stop only when I taste lavender. Emerge from my liquid confines. Drowning feels like defiance. Your body never forgets how to stay alive. The weakest parts of a human are the Achilles tendons. Just two straight lines. I sit back, submerge myself. Lavender turns to rust. That was, that was like yeah. Good for you, Arlene. My sanity is intact. It is. That's what my therapist has been telling me. That was a joke. Thank you. None of you are nice. Okay. This poem I wrote today. It's not very good, so be nice to me. It's also titled Untitled 1 Billion because you can't freaking name your poems. That's what it says right there. It's not a sonnet. I know. It could easily become a sonnet, though. Of course, it's going to be a sonnet. I decide we are nothing but masses haggling with space, watching the moon to try to find you. I position myself using Orion's belt or Venus. You were always better than me. We'd count patterns, and I tried to make shapes by connecting dots on a dark canvas. And I can't say, love, that I've ever seen a bear or soup spoon. But I tried, and that's all that matters, right? Last night, I saw everything in focus for the first time since you and him and her. I looked to the sky and felt infinite, like it could go on endlessly, existing in the space between constellations. I forgot to apologize. Existing in the space between constellations, I forgot to apologize for the space I take up. It seemed easier to do in the light of the pink moon. Perhaps it was just the spring rain cutting us a break. Remember how easy everything was when our only job was recklessness? You sought out the sky while I watched the waves crash in on themselves, and I could never make heads or tails of any of it, a scattering of dots or an endless depth, both so out of reach we believed in them. That was my poem that I wrote today. Thank you. Okay, there we go. I have one more poem. I know, right? Just one more. I never thought I'd say I have just one more poem, guys. It's never enough. Okay. I wrote this poem for my granddad because he died just in December. So that's what I did. Because I am a poet. We write about death, apparently. Okay. I remember you, covered in dirt and grime, soil under your fingernails, feet rooted to the ground in a way that I will always envy. I think I've always found myself wanting to flee, remain unattached, give gravity the finger, and jump off any kind of elevation. I'm 3 years old, and you're teaching me how to repot plants, and I forget. Roses have thorns, curl my palm against the stem. Take the leap and free fall off the roof. It wasn't an accident, I'd tell you. It's funny how we find ourselves back in the same place. Me on the roof wanting to jump, and you in the ground covered in soil. Beautiful things take hard work, you'd say. I never had the patience for flowers. They were too excitable, quiet in their resistance, I always needing more time and affection. They hurt me in ways I did not understand, sucked all the air from the room slowly, temporary. Soil through your fingers, you could love one and watch it die with no warning. My mother kept her wedding flowers, hung them upside down next to the crack in her bedroom wall. A dozen dead roses hung above the bed. I called you the day before I thought my roses were dying. Remove the plant, clean pot, add soil, water, settle in, you said. Hold off fertilizer, it could burn the roots. Flowers are resilient, and it cannot be unlearned. But there are so many winters roses can survive until they begin to droop. Petals free fall off the stem, flutter into the ground. Rest peacefully. I never did have the patience for flowers. Okay, I have 2 minutes. That is not enough time. I might have a poem. There we go. I do have a poem. I do have a poem, Jessica. It wasn't the last one. Okay. This is not done. I was hoping I didn't have to do this poem. Okay. You've come to me in dreams where I die. Everyone else, nameless, faceless, but you. Dark hair, dark eyes like the earth, and a cheeky grin I can't quite place. In these dreams, I don't recognize myself. Everything is bright and gleams like the sun reflecting off the ocean. Summertime, it calls to me. I don't know where you've come from. I never get to meet you, just witness your existence in disorienting images. You're not alive, and you will never be alive. You're haunting me in the dreams where I die. That's it. Thank you. Thank you.
We're joined here tonight with the lovely Arlene Hassan. Thank you for being on this side of the camera tonight. Let's give her a warm welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Normally, Arlene sits in the back with me and we fight the entire show over directing, and only sometimes do we go without being heard. Often it's like, we heard you fighting in the back again.
Yeah, just like, stop. We need to do that
Fighting.
again.
Yeah, totally. Okay, Arlene, it was really lovely to hear all these new poems. What's with the sonnets?
What's with the sonnets? I don't even know.
Stop writing so many sonnets.
Yeah, probably should.
So, I don't think I've asked you this question either. Like, as if this is a question I ask everyone when I see them. How did you start writing? Tell me, Arlene, how did you start writing? When did you start writing? What was your experience?
Oh, I don't. This is like one question I've never thought about answering.
Right. Even though I ask it in every interview, so that's fine. Go ahead.
It's fine. I've got answers for what's my favorite. If I was a vegetable, I got it. That's just okay. So I don't know. I guess I've always been. I learned how to read. I taught myself how to read at a very young age. English is my second language, and then I've just been writing, but I've never been writing, it's just it's something I've always done, but I've always had I've always done sport, I've always done dance, I've always done musical theater or something, but I write on the side. So then this crazy lady cornered me in a coffee shop one time, and she's like, you should come out to...
She shall not be named.
She was like, you should come out to Inspired Word Cafe. So then I did, and then she made me read, and
you had me in your
writing.
phone as Crazy Lady Aaron for the first year we knew each other. like, I'm not that crazy.
It's very accurate, though.
It's not.
It's not. She's very well behaved.
I also like how you say sport. It's not sports. It's I also do sport. just one sport or lots of sports or
I did all of the sports.
very nice.
Yeah.
So Arlene, who is your favorite poet?
I don't know if I can answer this question.
Who are you reading currently?
Who am I like absolutely in love with? Sure. Well, obviously Sylvia
Sylvia
Plath and I are like, we're connected on a deep spiritual level.
Right.
But right now I'm in love with Adele Barclay. Mm-hmm. Her entire first book, If I Were in a Cage, I'd Reach Out to You, was written for me.
Yeah.
Like if there was ever a book,
she did dedicate
that
to you.
was
It's true.
We need to meet. Like if you're out there, fat chance. But
If you're watching on YouTube, she is.
she could be.
She's at home like, oh, Arlene, I miss you.
She could be. I'm also reading David Donnell right now, who I really like. I never read male poets.
That's not true.
Very seldom. Okay, Robert Lowell. I love you, but I hate you. Should we just name poets? I feel like that could be our interview.
If you were a vegetable, what vegetable would you be?
I'd be a strawberry.
It's not a vegetable.
Well, too bad. That's what I'd be. Like, I'd be sweet sometimes, but sour other times.
Right.
It works. They're also little, and I'm little.
So I didn't know what a vegetable was in the last interview, and now in this interview, you don't know.
I know what a vegetable is.
Did you know that a banana
Is a berry.
is a berry, and that the plant is herbaceous, so it's a herb berry?
Yeah.
Do you want to know who told me that?
Lennon.
My 6-year-old. To which my husband and I were like, no, that's not true. Look it up. We're like, it's true. Like, where did you learn that? And she's like, at school, you guys. Oh, right. That's right. You go to
They
school.
like educate people now.
And she remembers everything. Okay.
'Kay.
Favorite movie?
I don't watch a lot of movies.
No, it's true. You don't.
I really don't. Like, I hadn't seen The Princess Bride for a long time. I don't know.
Mean Girls.
No. I like Footloose. I know. I'm a fan of Footloose.
Good
Or
choice.
Dirty Dancing. I really
Dirty
want.
Dancing.
I like Dirty Dancing.
You're probably really upset when you lost the Dirty Dancing sock puppet contest at Pony.
Yeah, I really was.
You guys did a really good job.
Like, I had it.
If there is a God, what would they say as you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oh. Yeah, that seems to be an issue. I think you were supposed to go downstairs, but we'll just double check.
Yeah. Your dad's there, like, paying them off. Okay. If you had a
Probably.
this is a Lennon question.
Oh, I love Lennon.
If you had a pet sloth, what would its name be?
Dog.
Dog.
Because I've always wanted a dog.
Right.
So, any animal that I have is just like, it's dog.
And this reminds me actually of, man, you can really mess with kids when you have them. So
If you have them.
Our sweet Lennon had this stuffy that was like her lovey forever, and so it started off as a bunny, and then we just called it Bunny, but then she lost that bunny, and we replaced it with a lamb version, but it still held on to the name Bunny. So for a long time, there was a lot of confusion between what is a bunny and what is a lamb. So don't do that to your kids or yourself. And my last and final question is, I don't know where this one came from. What time do you wake up? And what are you wearing when you wake up?
Oh.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, that seems like a very okay. It depends. I wake up a lot at like 4 in the morning because that's like when I'm most productive. It's like between 4 and 6. I like to like sit and write or do something. Usually, I'm just very grumpy to be around.
Right.
What am I wearing when I wake? It depends what I went to sleep in.
What?
Well, you know.
Like you're having really bad nightmares? No! And then you...
No. It actually does depend what I went to sleep in, because that's what I would be wearing when I wake up.
Right.
I don't really sleep with a lot of clothes
This was
on.
the most roundabout way of not answering that question. It's fine. It's personal. I get it.
I'm probably naked.
Where can we find more of your work, Arlene?
I don't know. Like, you can YouTube me. There's a couple of clips of me there.
Can we?
Yeah.
YouTuber, see what you find.
Please don't. If you find any photos of me at dance recitals, just
ignore them.
Yeah.
You can find more of her work at inspiredwordcafe.com, where we have videos of you performing at multiple events around town. You can find her up at UBCO.
In Michael's class.
Following all the rules and not getting in trouble at Platypus House.
Never get in trouble.
And you can find her in the summertime doing some things maybe somewhere, but I don't know for sure, so I'll stop there. You can find more of Inspired Word Cafe at inspiredwordcafe.com. Thanks for sitting through this interview with me, Arlene. I love your poems. You've come a long way since meeting the crazy lady at Streaming Cafe. Let's give her a big thank you for being our guest, and have a good night.